Hello and welcome to Outdoor Cats. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, and I am joined, as always, by Chris Rabarge. Chris, how you doing today?
That's a loaded question, but I'm doing all right. I am doing better after recording the interview that folks are going to hear in just a few minutes. I'm excited for them to hear it and hopefully feel better. Bill, do you want to talk about what that is?
Yeah. So we had on we wiped our schedules today. District 5 City Councilor Etel Haxhiaj said, I want to record. I want to talk about what happened last night. Say
Yo,
no
get me
more.
on the pod.
Say no
Say
more.
less, fam.
Like most conversations with Etel, started out angry, ended out soul affirming, and I think edifying is the most appropriate word for how we left things. I mean, obviously, we talk about the news of the day, which is the 8-2 city council vote last night to apologize to Thu for setting in motion right-wing revanchist backlash that ended up on Fox News.
And is still going as we speak.
Still
So we're
going
not
as
through
we
it yet,
speak.
but
Still going as we speak. And underneath
City
that,
Council did say something about it.
right.
Finally.
But underneath that 8-2 vote is all manner of interesting little ins and outs. And I think that the thing that's really sticking with me is just exploring the rationale and mentality of some of these old guard counselors that just cannot bring themselves to acknowledge the harm that they're doing. And how that's sort of like the behavior of an abuser in like a almost like a clinical sense. So
Yeah.
I think that this is really great. Just like last episode, it's sort of some mutual group talk therapy. But I think that the interview will really help a lot of people process and wrap their heads around like what to take away from last night. And I don't think I said it during the interview, but like all the people that came out, like there was like 200 people at City Council last night. Everyone who came out, everyone who spoke, thank you for being involved and giving a shit. And it mattered because last night was a victory, and that's how we should be thinking about it.
Yep. I co-sign all of that intensely, and especially the thank you to everyone who came out. I couldn't be there last night. I watched on stream a little bit late, but I really wanted to be there, and I'm so heartened to have seen. I watched on Feed, which for anyone who's watched on Feed, they do. Cable services does a yeoman's job trying to keep what is happening outside of the counselors and the person at this rostrum from coming through. Like you can't really hear it and you can't see it. And so it wasn't until late last night that I got to see some pictures of what the gallery looked like, and it was amazing. It made me feel really, really good about the people that I share this city with in a rough couple weeks for feeling goodwill towards some of the people I have to share the city with. I'm really happy to share the city with all of you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's in technical terms, those microphones are sort of heavily noise gated. So if there's not somebody right in front of them, it's most of the time the audio from the gallery doesn't get picked up. And that's not always been the case. That's sort of a recent change, and I fucking wonder why. But I was in the gallery, and the engagement of the crowd did have an obvious impact. Yelling down, shame, um, the applause when it was needed and appropriate, and the most effective and interesting tactic that you can't hear at all when you're listening to it on the stream is everyone in the gallery pounding their feet in anger. Actually, in Brad Patrician's write up of it in the Telegram, I was reading it this morning, and he made a note of that. He was like, the entire chamber was shaking at points from everyone pounding their feet. That's a good one. That's a good one. And I think that being in the room for these past couple of council meetings has been pretty nuts. There's been a lot of good engagement.
Yeah, I think we can safely say that. And I should just say I'm totally joking about cable services. Cable services, you're awesome. I genuinely love you. You do amazing work. And funnily enough, you know who felt that shaking probably more than anyone else in that room was a poor person who's up in the booth behind you in the little cable services booth. So thanks for being up there. Thanks for doing your job week in and week out. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Cable services is great. No hate. But let's, what do you say, Chris? Let's get to it.
Yeah, we'll take it, man.
Riding in from the Haxhiaj Highway, it is the Wicked Witch of the West Side, the heel of towny Facebook groups across the city. She has become bringer of bike lanes. She who the worst people in this city have questioned, a real citizen, a real refugee, who nevertheless outboxed the boxer with the brute force of a mother pissed off, the enemy of our enemies and our dear friend, District 5 City Councilor Etel Haxhiaj. How are you doing today?
Wow, what an intro. Can I have that intro every single time I get up to speak at City Council?
Yeah, like a wrestling intro.
Like a wrestling intro. I'll even share
Tuesday.
Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, well, Etel, we're recording the day after a pretty fundamentally significant City Council meeting. And we definitely want to talk to you about that because we had an 8-2 vote from the City Council to apologize to Thu for all the shit they've been put through over the past week or so. So I just kind of want to get your overall, how you're processing the meeting, what your overall assessment of it is now a day after.
Yeah, that was I feel like it was two parallel universes playing at the same, or sort of unfolding at the same time. When I looked over at the gallery, it was just like another beautiful show of community and caring people, a lot of people that I met for the first time. And then juxtapose that with, having to convince people that issuing an apology for acknowledging the harm done to Councilor Nguyen, and harm that was obviously being perpetuated on the floor as we spoke as well, that the just juxtaposition of those two universes unfolding at the same time was sort of surreal. At least that's the immediate reaction that I was processing at the time while just trying to figure out how do you process things while they're happening and try to find the right words to navigate all those energies that were playing out in the room at the same time.
Right. So I was up in the gallery, and I was watching as you made the motion to issue an apology to, and you said, if the council doesn't vote this, I'm walking out right now. And as they were voting on it, I noticed that you had your hand on your backpack. You were ready to go. I take it that wasn't an idle threat.
Oh no, I was very serious about it. The only reason I stayed back is that the vote ended up being the way that it was.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard that folks were expressing, I don't even know what the word is to fully describe what they were expressing, but let me just, I'll use the softest word possible. They were expressing discomfort with acknowledging another human being's hurt. It felt that there was just no possible way for me to continue sitting in a room with people that don't share a fundamental value of harm reducing a little bit. That was just like a baby step. The harm that Councilor Nguyen had been subjected to for no fault of their own. So
Right.
I was ready to go. The vote ended up being an 8-2.
Mm-hmm.
It was a welcoming thing. I wish that it was unanimous, but that was not an idle threat. I was ready to go.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, Chris, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, as usual, I think you found the perfect way to put that, or what I experienced watching it happen, not being a city councilor, having to actually be involved in it. And the other thing that I thought was notable is a lot of those people that were expressing discomfort at having to acknowledge the humanity of another person and one of their colleagues were also really failing the am I making this about myself actually test in a way that really stuck out to me. There was a lot of main characters last night who were not actually the main character, and that, man, it was something. But while I'm on, let me just say, because it's important to do this, we won. The vote passed. Your resolution or your motion passed, and it passed by an unusual margin. And those people lost the day.
And yeah, thank you, Chris, for saying that. And I think like I said, that was a baby step. It was in the amount of harm that has been done to Councilor Nguyen, but also to every single person that testified and who came out, and people who I never met before in my life who were shaking while at the microphone. Those folks experienced harm just as much, right? So that slur, the treatment, the way that our city leaders have chosen, this is not something that happened passively. They have chosen, some of them, to respond in a way that I can only describe as harming one of their colleagues. Those reactions and responses have hurt the queer trans folks that came out yesterday, who weren't planning on speaking, who now have to say publicly that they're scared of living in an environment that is nationally and locally that are mirroring each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a very good point, and it's a point that a lot of the speakers from the public made. Yeah. And it is sort of surreal to, like, we're in a national context, we're in this transition to power to a movement that has its targets firmly sighted on gender issues in the trans community, especially. And as that's happening in real time, we have Candy Mero-Carlson and the mayor advancing a line of attack on a non-binary colleague that is so resonant with this moment of hating on trans people that it ends up on freaking Fox News
And Libs of TikTok.
and Libs of TikTok. Yeah, I think it was Libs of TikTok first and then Fox News.
Right. And the Daily Mail too. And
yeah, right. I mean, and you know, I didn't hear an apology for that really from either of them. I don't know if I missed something. Etel, did you hear an apology for that from either of them?
I didn't hear an apology at all. I didn't hear an answer to all the questions that I posed on the floor. I didn't hear a clear, even a close, like anything close to being an apology or acknowledgement that someone has been harmed. No, I didn't hear any of that.
I thought it was especially sort of almost funny in a glib way that Joe Petty said, I have never insulted anyone and I have never, that I would never allow hate to go on.
And I will not allow any toxic environment to exist in this city, and especially in this council.
He's saying that after pretty much like a week straight of hate that he allowed to go on. I thought that was...
Bro, you just did it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the point, and hopefully this is a learning moment for people, because when you say that you, as a person, have not allowed something to happen, but you do not intervene to prevent harm from progressing, then you are allowing that to happen. That's the simplest way that someone could understand their role in perpetuating harm. And which is why I haven't made public my response to Mayor Petty, but I didn't choose to sign on to the statement that Thu had posted, which supposedly was going to be the proxy to apologizing for the hate and the transphobic and the racial slurs that our staff at City Hall are receiving, that are only directed at Councilor Nguyen. But I will make a point, because I feel that this is important to point out. At one point, the mayor mentioned that other councilors have received hate mail. So I don't know his definition of hate mail. One of the things that I have expressed to him and my colleagues is that, I haven't received any hate mail. I've received a ton of other stuff. But my point is, nothing that I have received compares to the slew of vitriol that Councilor Nguyen continues to receive to this day. Those emails haven't stopped. The phone calls to City Hall haven't stopped. And so to minimize and reduce that, and to create a false comparison, that is an explicit example of harm. And I don't know how else to educate folks on, and when I mean folks, I mean my colleagues, on understanding the simple concept that they're
also not your job. It's not your job, Etel. I really appreciate that you're doing it, but you shouldn't have to. And a thing I also noticed last night was that the mayor said that he's never insulted anyone, that he's never done these things, after people very bravely, including people that have to have a relationship with the city, kind of necessarily, like Worcester Pride, etc., said, you did this specific thing that insulted me. You did this specific thing that slighted my community.
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know. Sorry.
Candy took what Joe was putting down there a step further, which is probably the worst comment of the night, in my opinion, is when she says in her Candy way, yeah, there's hate, but that hate goes both ways. Like, you should see my inbox. You should see the people lighting me up for what I've been through.
And Mr. Chairman, as you talked about the hate mail, The hate mail isn't in just one direction.
Which, as Chris was saying, that's main character syndrome, but it's also like really diminishing of what is the actual problem here. In my opinion, I suppose, but I found Candy's comments to be, just like the statement that she put out, extremely revealing. And Tal, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on the way that Candy's been handling it.
I have a lot of thoughts, and it's really hard to condense them in one thing that sounds articulate. But I will say that I think to watch people in real time, people who've been in politics for way longer than I have, who I think even on a selfish level are unable to take the minimal responsibility and accountability for their actions, is hurtful to watch that play out in real time. It's also befuddling because I would say that I don't know who advises the counselors and who their inner circles are. They think this is a good approach. But when we're trying to teach our kids and model for them what I call servant leadership, and to watch someone who professes to abide by that principle and uphold diversity, equity, and inclusion publicly, and to love the city, but to watch them in real time reharm a resident of our city, somebody's sibling, somebody's partner, somebody's child, a resident of our community. Like I keep saying that Councilor Nguyen is not just an elected official, they are a resident of our community. Like I said, I don't have a coherent thought because all of these things I experienced as I sat there and I listened, and it was really hard to sit there and listen and make eye contact with people. I said this to somebody who I talked to who asked me how it is to sit in that room. And I'm glad Councilor Nguyen is not there, because how do you sit in a room across from people that refuse to acknowledge your mere existence?
Yeah, right.
And refuse to do that over and over and over again.
And that didn't change last night. And I want to talk about this especially because the comments made by Joe and Candy especially, but also Kate Toomey and to a lesser extent George Russell. Oh, and then there's Bergman's comments, which are totally crazy, but we'll get to that later. Russell, Toomey, Petty, and Mero-Carlson all voted yes on the apology, but that vote was at odds with what they said in the room. They did not verbally or vocally apologize for anything. Really, what they were doing was defending their own record. Did that chamber become safer for someone like Thu as a result of this meeting? I don't know. Has anything substantively changed in regards to like sort of the culture of that body?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not going to speak for Thu, obviously, but I think that if I'm just going to speak from where I sat last night. I can't imagine when you watch what's happening since Monday's inauguration, and then transitioning to our microcosm here in Worcester, and then watching people not even acknowledge the two mirrors, right? We have two mirrors, the national and the local, and they're reflecting each other. And, I don't know how safe it is when your leaders aren't unable to capture just that mere concept of the things that are playing nationally are playing out locally. So if you're unable to acknowledge that using a slur is problematic and you don't have the ability or you don't use your ability to condemn that unequivocally, then I don't know how any person in Worcester, whether they are of the queer, trans, non-binary, LGBTQ community, or any other marginalized identities, can feel safe with their leaders. Like, I remember a comment from someone in the public comments that said, "I don't know that I feel safe reporting an instance of discrimination to my counselor." Yeah, I wouldn't either. If they cannot capture the mere concept of how harmful it is to use a slur and then deny that you didn't say it, and then go ahead and defend yourself and victimize yourself and reharm the victim of that slur, how the heck can anyone of an unmarginalized identity feel safe or trust or have any faith in our elected leaders? And honestly, it feels embarrassing because I feel like I should be doing more to convince my colleagues. And I know it's not my responsibility to educate people, but darn it, I feel an urgency. I literally feel an urgency to not let these things unsaid. And if this is the only way that I can raise their consciousness, then it is what it is. But I didn't see a single person there in the audience last night just watching it, their body language and just watching their reactions after each counselor spoke, or the ones who spoke, that felt safe or appreciated or seen or believed.
Right. A lot of groans, though. A lot of groans. I was up there. A lot of, "Are you kidding me?"
Right.
A lot of, "I can't believe this." A lot of, "This isn't about you." The comments of Candy and Kate especially really fell on deaf ears. Kate's comments were amazing, frankly. Arguing against apologizing by saying that you've apologized.
I have already apologized for the mistake that I made when Councilor Nguyen first came on.
It's like everyone was just like, "Well, then just do it again." Like, what is so hard about this?
First time's the hardest, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to talk, or sort of lay it out for the listener, how this was very nearly a 6-5 vote against apologizing.
Can I stop you for just 1 second, Bill? I just want to spell out for sort of the more layman folks my understanding of what actually happened in the municipal body, which was an 8-2 vote in support of Etel's motion that the body of City Council apologize. It did not involve, very notably, any individuals apologizing for their own behavior, and they didn't. So I just want to say that. And the other thing I want to say is I want people to think about, yes, this was an 8-2 vote, but unless I'm missing anyone, the only people who spoke emphatically and clearly in support of Thu and in support of this motion was you, Etel, and Councilor King. There were a lot of people who spoke and said different things, and there were some people who did not speak. I can think of one in particular.
Right. Yeah. I think in the spirit of in earnest and genuine apology, we were looking at maybe like a 3-7 vote. But the vote that we got was 8-2. It seemed like after you made the motion, George Russell was the next person to stand up. And George Russell goes, "I didn't do anything. I'm not apologizing."
And I'm not going to apologize to anyone in this community or anyone outside this community for doing anything wrong, because I did nothing wrong, and I never, ever have treated anyone in this council floor or in the members of the public with any but respect.
He tries to amend it to say that the council, I forget what sort of mealy mouth language, regrets. Yeah, right. The council regrets the unfortunate act of God that has descended upon two that we have no personal involvement in or responsibility for. So when he makes that, I'm like, okay, this is their way out. They're going to vote affirmatively on this. And that's going to be essentially the vote against it.
And Bill, can I just say that was the moment that if that motion had been made, the regret motion, instead of apologizing, that there was no doubt in my mind. Hey, of course, I was going to be a no, but if council decided that that was more important to them, I was planning on walking out until then things change, and I'll let you
right.
Just on the rest of the scene.
So things change sort of late in the conversation. Louis Ojeda stands up for the first time in the conversation, and Louis hasn't made a public statement about this as far as I'm concerned. Or as far as I know, as far as I know, he hasn't made a statement about this. But after Russell makes that motion, and Louis Ojeda has eyes and ears that see and hear, he's like, "Oh, we're about to do something really, really shitty." So he stands up and he says, what are we voting on here? Like, and he sort of speaks crank to the crank, and he's like, listen, this isn't about any one of us, but let's try to recenter two in this conversation about two, and like think about what they've been through, and is that something that we can bring ourselves to say sorry for? Because me personally, I think it's terrible, and I'd like to say sorry.
Councilor Russell, I understand where you're coming from, but I want you to understand it's more of supporting one of our fellow colleagues in a time of need.
And that that sort of little off the cuff speech from Ojeda really did save it from going the direction I think we all thought it was going, because after that, Russell withdrew his motion to amend it to say regret, and we got the vote. Like Louis Ojeda sort of coming in on the right side of history in the 11th hour here. And I'm wondering how you were processing that at the time and what you make of that.
Yeah, I did say thank you to Councilor Ojeda in the hallway when I went out. I was really taken aback by that and surprised, and I'm grateful that he intervened. But what was playing in my head really as I replayed that snippet of the meeting in my head this morning is I don't think I said anything different. So do they receive words differently from a man that they do from a woman? Because I don't believe that I said anything different than what Councilor Ojeda said, which has been mirrored in my request to my colleagues, to all of them, via my emails in response to Mayor Petty's original press release that wasn't sent, which the direct words have been, right now, we need to center the person that continues to be harmed and be explicit about the behavior that is causing that harm. And so maybe I'm being petty, maybe I'm not, but I just sort of was thinking to myself, so is it because Etel said it that it's not acceptable, or is it because they needed to hear it from another man that would make that more palatable and more acceptable? But either way, whichever it was, I was grateful that Councilor Ojeda pushed back with, to explain the concept of empathy, which is something that should be really ingrained and should be an elementary concept for a required concept for all elected officials. But I'm glad that he gave a empathy 101 tutorial on the spot. And that seemed to have done the trick. So,
Yeah.
I think your point is really well taken. And we know that you have said exactly this to them many times for weeks. And Louis chose a very timely time to say it once. And that seemed to have worked. But yeah, point taken, Etel.
I think that it's both of the things, that it's you and that you're a woman. That it's you is because you saw this most clearly from my vantage point in Kate Toomey getting up in reflexive opposition to apologizing and then not being able to summon a rhetorical position at all, right? Just being like, I already apologized. And everyone was like, yeah, and so? And then, you know, some sort of vague overture to like, we need to move past this.
So from my perspective, we need to move forward. We need to heal together.
Go to finish.
Which is hilarious. Like, what does that even mean?
can I just say something about can we move past this?
Mm-hmm.
In reconciliation one-on-one, if you've had children or not, it doesn't matter. If you've been in a relationship where you've harmed somebody, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and you've tried to reconcile that relationship, I would hope that most people are not going in the direction of, let's just move forward without the person that has caused harm acknowledging the behavior and saying, my bad, I did bad, not going to do that again. I understand the behavior, and let's figure out how I do not harm you again in the same way or in different ways. Mm-hmm. What moving forward, I'm processing this in real time with y'all. Moving forward meant last night is that we are unwilling to commit to true repair and reconciliation by not explicitly naming the behavior that has caused harm, B, not being willing to apologize for it, 3, by deflecting and reharming the victim of that harm, and 4, just saying that I'm not willing to apologize. We're just going to move together in a positive manner. Now, I want to make this point because Thu has made this point too. And this is what I think is important to keep in mind. Those folks are completely unaware that the 4 things that I mentioned just now are things that the people in the audience, the community that's came, 200 people, I think it was, I would
say so. Okay, 200 seems right. Yeah.
The whole gallery was filled with people from a specific community that said, we also feel marginalized and harmed. So this isn't just about Thu. This is about a city council and members of it that do not understand what they're doing, what the harm that they're perpetuating is being reverberated in the community. Mm-hmm. And that's severe, and they seem completely unaware of it.
Can I add a 5th thing, Etel?
Yeah, please.
A 5th thing that saying let's move on does not say is it does not say or give you any indication whatsoever that the person who has done the harm intends in any way to do better in the future or improve the way that they behave. Right. And so when someone doesn't tell me that, I don't want their apology, frankly, because I don't have any indication that they've learned anything or that they're going to do better in the future.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very good point.
I would say that it's, there's a way of abstracting it and fitting it into like, it's, reminiscent of like abuser logic in a relationship. Yes. That like the let's just move on, let's just get past this. I had too much to drink last night, and that but no as you said, sort of action steps or concrete changes that rectify the situation. It's just like, well, it's over now, so we can get past it. And it is kind of processing that thought in real time, it neats a little bit. It grafts a little bit too neatly onto the city council to think about it in terms of the logic of an abuser.
Yeah. I found myself thinking last night and again now as we're talking about this that like I don't know how some of these people navigate any interpersonal relationships. I don't know how they have friends. I don't know how they have partners. I actually I'm not gonna say things that I shouldn't say, but I am kind of concerned about how they act in interpersonal relationships with those close to them. Because this is really basic stuff, as you said, Etel. This is like not, high academics. This is basic being a decent human being 101.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we almost saw a vote against that.
We almost fucked it up.
Very narrowly. Not that the vote for it was really all that genuine.
Right.
But I want to sort of bring the conversation away from the council and toward the community that showed up and did a very effective job with the press conference before and with the comments made at the city council meeting. And I think that, a prevailing theme was that these people are unfit for office and something should be done about that. There's an election in November. And for anybody who might share that sentiment, you have some experience winning elections in Worcester. What should people start doing now to organize against the people that they saw last night to be unfit for office?
Yeah, really good question, and I would say between let me just start by saying that in the last 6 months, I have seen something that I've been craving for a long time, which is a resurgence of intersectional grassroots organizing of different issues that are not. I don't see them as disconnected, and I don't think any of us see them as disconnected, but some people might. And so I think if we're thinking about the shifts that need to happen on the city council, I would urge everybody who was part of those meetings, who has been part of coming to council, who's tuning in, who is feeling riled up about all these things, to take that energy and channel it into supporting the folks that they feel, they see, they know align explicitly with the values that uphold everything that we care about for our communities. And the way to do that is really not magic. That is, who you want to support, what values they hold, you understand the work that they bring to the table. If you want to see more of that, then veer away from figuring out how to attack the opposite of that, and channel all your energy into supporting the people that can make a difference. And it's not a huge difference. It can be done. Right. Those, people know who those names are. People understand the races. Ton of vacancies on council, as we've seen with some announcements coming up. So it's going to be a very different race, I believe, this election cycle. It's going to be very different players. But the intensity and the animosity and the work that folks need to put in to support the candidates that we need to have needs to be twofold. That's the word, right? Twofold. What we did in the last election.
Right.
Yeah. Let's spell that out quickly. In terms of the vacancies, District 3 Councilor George Russell has announced that he is not seeking re-election, and as of this morning, District 1 Councilor Jenny Pacillo has announced that she is also not seeking re-election. So those are two definite open seats. We've talked about District 2 and how close that race was last time. That's a very gettable seat. Mo Bergman and Candy Mero-Carlson, and
Donna Clorio.
Donna Clorio, thank you, are very gettable. They came really close to the bottom last time in the at-large race. And so, yeah, everything you just said, Etel, and I think to your point about not focusing just on opposition, we need candidates. We need good candidates to run for those seats, and we need them like right now. We have to start organizing, and we have to start raising money for them, and we have to start knocking doors for them. So let's get those people identified ASAP, and then let's really try to consolidate our energies around some people that we believe in and work hard for them, because that's what it's going to take. This shit does not happen on its own. We gotta go out and do it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think you mentioned the two ingredients that make this happen, right? And I know that there's a ton of stuff that it's outside of our control, outside of those two things that are the main drivers of a successful campaign: money and volunteers. But I have a feeling that money is going to play a big part in this next election, because we're seeing candidates who have access to a lot of monies outside of Worcester. And unfortunately, more and more in local elections, we are seeing that the grassroots, boots on the ground, feet on the ground, hands knocking on doors is important, but it's also the money. The cash is really, really important. So I just want to make that point, because it's not just our working really hard and getting volunteers out. It's getting everything out: mailers, messages, all the things that cost a ton of money.
Right.
It's going to take both things.
Yeah, and we'll remember last election, not that I want to, the Chamber of Commerce seemed like a last minute out of fear move, dumped like an absurd amount of money into the race in the final month. And it had an impact. It really did have an impact. So that's something that we should expect to happen again. And you're right. Organizing around building up people's campaign funds is probably as, if not more important than organizing around, door knocking sessions. I want to ask you, as a prolific online poster, going to an audience of online people, in your opinion, has posting ever helped a campaign win an election?
Yeah, if for folks that are probably new to this or not, I would say that us being confined to our social media circles will never, ever lead to a successful campaign. We really, truly, and I truly mean this, we really need people to get out of our circles that we talk to. And you need to do concrete things. And those concrete things for me are: what candidates do I want to sign up to volunteer? What recurrent donations or one-time donations can I make? Can I write friend letters to 10, 15 of my neighbors to say, I need you to vote for such and such? Can I show up on Sunday after I'm really tired and knock on 25 doors? Can I pick up 3 shifts? Can I show up to register people, call them? There's a lot of unsexy stuff that happens behind the scenes in campaigns, and posting has never led to any progressive candidates winning elections. It just doesn't. So it
has the exact same impact as lawn signs.
Yeah. Yes, and that too. Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you're Gary Rose, then it works for you.
I think that it's very important, though. It might cut into my business model to identify that now, that it's not moving the needle. Anything you put on Instagram or Twitter, it helps to build a consensus around issues. It helps to pull the public discourse in one direction or another. It does not win campaigns. You're not helping anybody win a campaign by posting about them. Just want everyone to know that while we're early on, right? Early on, you got to show up. You have to give money in person. in the real world, things that happen in the real world win campaigns. So
money's tight. We all know that. I don't have a job right now, but you can go to a district campaign or any council campaign, and you can put on $5 a month if that you can do. That's what I do. I do little amounts of money every month. I set it up, and then I just learn that to live with that, $20, $30 or whatever not being there. And Etel, I'm sure you can speak to this, but like, if even a few people do that, every person that does that matters. Every $5 actually matters.
Yeah, no, it does. And again, I have so much empathy for the fact that folks are struggling, and it's a lot to ask. And trust me, it comes with a lot of guilt, but also a lot of responsibility, right? Because that's, I think those of us that care in a different way carried that. But yes, every little donation makes a huge difference. So with deep gratitude, whatever folks can do, it's highly appreciated.
I mean, the closest we have seen, or probably will see in our lifetime, of a progressive taking the United States presidency was a campaign, if we'll remember, completely backed by small donations, in a way that really rocked the entire political spectrum. The first Bernie Sanders campaign was like a bonanza of small contributions. And I think that, I don't know, just as I'm thinking about it right now, that's a sort of like how to build like a cultural sort of buy-in around giving small amounts of money to a campaign regularly is a smart thing to be thinking about right now. Because I remember back in 2016, everyone was like, yeah, I just gave $20 to Bernie Sanders, right? And like it was like a thing, like everyone was cheering each other on, like, yeah, give him more money.
Right.
The CIA was almost pulling out the heart attack gun there for a second.
Yeah. And hey, people, I if you need a motivation, and I know this all, I hate door knocking. I hate doing that stuff. I do it in spite of hating it. But hey, I'm guessing you all know what it feels like to lose. And after last night, you know what it feels like to win a little bit, and winning feels better. And we can flip the council. I'm going to keep saying it like every time we talk about this. That is a doable goal this year. And it will feel awesome if we can do it. So let's do it.
Yeah. No, that's true. I also want to add something, Bill, because you asked me about the folks in the audience, and I don't want this point to get missed. But I heard a recurrent theme yesterday that I think ultimately is something that when you zoom out of this and look at the bigger picture, I think that a lot of folks, what I felt expressed is what other policies and systemic changes can lead from this big thing that happened with Thu being subjected to transphobic. Because as I also said in the comments, this isn't about just this one, one point in time, right? It is about many points in times that have been accumulating, have been allowed to exist, have been allowed to litter the culture at City Hall. And it has permeated into real harm done to both racial and transphobic and anti-immigrant sentiments that have surfaced. And so my point is that I hope the community stays on top of this. I think that folks need to demand that the investigation become public. I do want to say for the first time, I don't think I have mentioned this in any other interviews, but Councilor Nguyen has filed a complaint. I also filed a complaint, both with the Human Resources and the Executive Office of Equity at City Hall to support what is happening. And so I think that I hope that the folks that came last night and the ones that have shown up for the last 6 months do continue to demand that there's some transformative changes that need to happen from this, in addition to obviously the basics of public apologizing and rectifying the harm down to 2, but that there should be a clear list of demands. And I think there will be a clear list of demands that points to more transformative changes around how elected officials truly practice their values of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's a good sort of prize to keep your eye on, that there is going to be an investigation, or there's an investigation ongoing right now. There is going to be like a final report on that. I won't make you speak for this, but I think that it might be a little bit of a struggle to make that a public document. And the public pressure will be immensely useful in the fight to make that a public document, because we deserve to know what HR is going to find about this. And
the staff at City Hall deserve to know that their, elected officials are not above them.
Mhm.
We are not above the folks that serve the residents of the city, and they need to feel safe. And there needs to be accountability for behaviors like this, because there hasn't been any thus far, and we're seeing our elected leaders completely ignore that part.
Right.
We heard from a few city employees last night who were brave enough to come and speak at the mic. And when you work in City Hall, as people who work there or have worked there and left for reasons could tell you, that is not without risk. You have to go to work every day in an environment that some of the elected officials in the city have fostered into City Hall, which is your workplace. And so I agree with you. And I also think that the cranks are counting on us to go away. And they are freaking out that we're not. So let's keep doing that. Let's not go away, because they hate that and it's scaring the shit out of them.
I will say that the past, like you were talking about earlier, Etel, the past couple weeks have seen a lot of public energy and enthusiasm around participating in local government on various fronts. But the unifying aspect of all of these various fronts is just the antipathy and resentment on the faces and in the body language of some of the city councilors that are made to endure it. And they are just enduring it. They are not listening.
Do you know how mad Candy and Kate are that they have to hide their phones behind manila envelopes now? They are mad.
And so did you? I don't know if you saw that, but they were they put up little bear hairs so people couldn't see when they were on their little clickety-clacking on their cell phones.
I didn't see that, to be honest with you. I don't know how other people process public participation, but I'm really drawn, especially when people speak about their personal experiences, and maybe it's the mom in me, but I feel the urge to go and hug everybody who comes to the microphone and I see in a sort of distress. So I don't know what the other counselors across the aisle are trying to do or what their body language is, because I'm 100% focused on the folks that are literally shaking and probably outing themselves for the first time publicly, right?
Right.
So it's like, it's just really disgusting. If that's what happened, it's just really gross. It's just really gross. And we saw that with the folks that spoke about their relatives being killed in Palestine. And the utter lack of empathy showing on their faces.
Kind of actively, I'm going to editorialize here and say my opinion is that it is not accidental, it's actually intentional. That some people, and we know who they are are intentionally and actively trying to show I don't care. What you are saying is not moving me in any way, shape, or form.
I have some video evidence of that happening, and it's a really amazing clip. Maida Morales is giving Candy the business while Candy has her hand behind a piece of paper and obviously typing with one finger on the cell phone. I'll put that in the show description so people can check it out. It's like it's a little visual metaphor for, I think, a lot of things.
But decorum, right? Decorum.
Yeah, decorum. We love decorum. Yeah, we love to have decorum. Etel, I think that we've kept you here long enough, and thank you so much for not just coming on, but offering to come on. We've both dropped our very, very busy schedules. We have extremely busy schedules, and we dropped everything. We're like, all right, Etel wants to come on and talk about it. We'll clear the calendar.
I appreciate y'all.
I just wanted, just wondering if there's anything that we haven't touched on, or that you'd, even something unrelated that you'd like to talk about while we have you here.
Yeah, maybe there is one thing. And again, I, oftentimes I think I have, the way that I process and reflect on things is I write them down in my journal, or I try to have these conversations. And it was important for me to just have this conversation, because I think that folks also need to process what happened last night. And hopefully some of my observations and thoughts offer some perspective. But I spend my day with my mom today. After really tough city council meeting, I have a tradition where I go to my mom's apartment. She makes me lunch. I take my laptop with me to do work. And last night it felt even more important to come and spend some time with my mom, because as folks know, the abuse that Thu has subjected to in the hands of Councilor Mero-Carlson also extends to some extent, to me and my family. And I was reminiscing with my mom about some of the memories that I shared with Greg, who writes for
Greg Opperman.
Greg Opperman. I just want to leave you with this: is I know that people say that when you enter politics, you need to have a thick skin. I've heard that so many times. But on a human basic level, it's just wrong and hurtful to dismiss, erase, reframe, and claim the story of a family of 3 people, 4, my mom, my grandmother, my dad, and I, 2 of whom are no longer here, who went through hell and who survived and who are now thriving as new Americans. It's just wrong, and it's just deeply hurtful. And I know my mom will not agree with me saying these words, because she tries to protect me a lot. But it is, on a human level, it is deeply hurtful. It is not okay to hurt another human being, whether it's Councilor Nguyen or whether it's me and my family. And so I just want to just have folks just reflect a little bit on just that personal level and how this is affecting us as not only elected officials, but also as residents of this community who have done a lot to serve people. It's just my hope that the people that decide that they don't want to run because of this climate, I hope that they understand that there's also a lot of joy and a lot of beauty in seeing just so many people show up to support one person. And I have said this too many times. It's amazing and beautiful and just so incredible that we have such a generous community that 200 people will show up to support a member that belongs to all of us, not just one community. 2 doesn't belong to one community. 2 belongs to all of us.
Right.
So anyway, I just wanted to just end with that personal note because I am in my mom's house and it's meaningful to me. And one day I will speak more about my story and I'll have more to say, but I treasure my story and it's no one's to steal from me.
Exactly. And I will say that I have also personally felt the real joy that can come in being in community that is participating actively in trying to make their city a better place. And that is the tradition that you and Thu are coming out of. And that's why I think you're taking so much shit from these people who have thrived and existed in a toxic culture that existed long before you arrived. And it's coming to the surface really because you are challenging the prevailing order, that you want to imbue and infuse this thing that's been so wretched for so long with love. And a bigoted person's reaction to that is to question your motivations because they can't possibly imagine someone having good intentions and wanting justice and good things to happen. They're going, what's in it for her, right? Because they can't understand, they can't see public participation that is not a grift of some kind. But those people are removable. And we're here to stay. And we're not going anywhere, even if they aren't removed. So if you hate it, if you hate dealing with us, there is the easiest way out. The easiest way out is to resign. Follow George Russell's lead. Just get out. If you don't like it, leave. You know? Who hasn't heard that one before?
Doors right over there. Yeah. I wanna just say also, I have also heard people say many times, and I have said in the past myself, that to be in politics, you need to have a thick skin. And I disavow that statement these days. And what I like to say instead is that if you want to be in politics, you need to rise to the occasion of the very important job that people have elected you to do. And you have risen to that occasion, Etel, and some people haven't. And I have told some of those councilors, I'm sure this is part of what is being qualified as hate mail. I have told some of those councilors directly, you have not risen to the occasion of this job and you should leave. You should stop doing it. You are not up to the task. And that's how I think about it. And, you know, the one other thing I wanted to say to you, Etel, before you go, is you were talking a little bit about social media and kind of the limitations of social media for people and for electeds. I want to say I'd push back a little bit on social media for electeds in this specific way. A thing that you do really, really well is you put out a lot of statements, and not just about stuff like this, but like when the fire happened up at Washington Heights, you know, where are these people going to live? What are we going to do for them? Hey, this is how the community is cooking food for these people and feeding them. And this is how you can help do that. This is why pedestrian safety and traffic safety matters. It kills people when it's unsafe, and that is a tragedy. And I think hearing that from someone like you and hearing it consistently really matters. And there's no connection between politicians that do that and really try to engage with their community and bring everyone along together. And this, frankly, groundswell of what we've been seeing in city council lately. Those things are connected.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
You.
It's evidence that like you are busting ass all the time, trying to do the most good that you can. What would a Candy Mero-Carlson statement look like? I just got $1,000 from the tow truck company. That's what I did with my day. No, I'm not.
We're not going to make you say it, but we'll say it.
No, I'm just goofing. I'm just goofing around.
Allegedly.
I'm just allegedly goofing around about something allegedly. But yeah, Etel, this was a super awesome, nice conversation, and I feel like my spirit has been lifted by it in a way. And I hope that you don't feel like your time has been wasted.
Not at all. No. I appreciate y'all, and I will come back anytime I'm needed to either reflect, process, or just help offer the perspective. But this has been very uplifting for my spirit as well, and hopefully it ends us on a positive note that yes, we can absolutely shift things, and for that will require a lot of work and a lot of love, and I think we can do it.
Yeah.
Great note to end on. Thank you so much, Etel.
Mommy, can you say hi? Can I have my mom say hi to you both?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, hold on. Hi, she's right there. So
Hello.
hi.
Long time no see. Here, let me come on camera. Oh, it's been so long since I've seen you.
Yeah.
A long time. So she's my bestie. She
Yeah.
got me. So.
I'm glad that you have that little ritual where Etel comes to hang out after the crappy city council meetings.
Thank you.
It seems like it really makes the difference, you know?
Yeah, I am.
She makes really good food. Next time I see you both, I will share some of her food, and I will share with you the strong, crazy drink.
I was gonna say, do we have a Rocky hookup?
We got a Rocky hookup. I got a Rocky hookup.
Oh